Oh, hi. Welcome in. Sorry, I didn't see you come in. I was a bit spacing out. How are you doing today? Yeah, me too. Really excited actually. I heard you want to join our D&D group. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I'm so super happy people wanna join up. What made you decide to join a D&D group? Yeah. Oh yeah. Ah, that's amazing. Okay, yes. I can already tell you're gonna fit in here perfectly. Amazing. Have you played D&D before, or is this your first time? No, that's no problem at all. If that's your first time, that's totally fine. That's kind of why I set up the session. So in case you actually wanted to ask some extra questions or you needed help setting up your character, that we could maybe have some time before we would actually start playing, that we can kind of get to know each other and you can ask me questions. And if you need help setting up your character, or if you already done that, you do need help with that. Okay, yes, we can totally work that out together right now. And I can help you get all set up with the technicalities around setting up your character, Yeah. No worries. We can totally do that together. Yeah. You actually have amazing timing because our group is just about to start another adventure arc, so that's perfect that you want to join up right now. We actually have a mix of players. Some have already been playing for a long time, some are fairly new, so don't worry at all about being inexperienced or something like that. We're all here, to create an experience together, and you don't need to be like perfect at D&D or something like that to have fun with it. Yeah. All right, okay. All right, where to start? Okay, you want to do your character now? Yeah. Okay, let's do that. And I think while creating your character, we're gonna come across some things that you might not have heard of before, and then we can kind of, go from there and answer questions, and I can explain a bit. Yeah, okay, let's do it like that then. Okay, perfect. Okay. So you have something here, because I thought maybe this, this could happen. So I printed you out a character sheet. So here you can see, this is where you can put down your character. You can name it. These are the stats of your character, and maybe for instance, what languages your character speaks, your equipment, your attacks, all that stuff, some traits. I also have a sheet of paper here. Maybe that can help you come up with like a backstory of your character. You can write down your character's appearance here and their allies or organizations they're part of, their features and traits, maybe they have like some treasure, their backstory. You don't only need to fit it in here. You can also just write it, on any paper that you want to. It doesn't have to be super elaborate, but it definitely helps if you want to do some role playing while playing D&D. Yeah. Okay. And then last but not least, if you want to play a character that utilizes spells, we have this third sheet here. You can write down what kind of spell casting class you are. Don't worry, we're gonna go over them in a second together. And their ability, their spell save DC. We're also gonna explain this in a little bit, don't worry. And their spells, it's like a list of spells they have. Okay. Alright. Well, first of all, we need to establish 3 important things about your character to start building on it, okay? we're gonna have to look into what kind of race you want to play, what class you want to play, and what background your character is going to have. Those are the 3 big things to establish your stats at the beginning. Stats are not like set in stone. So when your character levels up, you can increase your stats sometimes, okay? So if you put down relatively low numbers now, don't worry. To just quickly explain, there's 6 big important stats. We have strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And all your skills are sort of based on one of these big 6. Okay. These can have a score from 1 to 20, and depending on that score, you have a modifier. Okay. If you have a score of 10 or 11, your modifier is 0. And if you go lower, so the 2 below that have a -1. The 2 above that have a +1. And sort of like that. You can like envision it like a string of numbers. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Yeah. So the highest would be a +5 with 20. So that's kind of how high you can get, and unless you get like a special magical item or something like that that allows you to go higher. Okay. All your stats are important because you're going to be making checks or attacks during the game. For instance, if your character wants to climb a tree, I would ask you to roll a d20, one of the dice we use, and for instance make an athletics check, which is a strength-based skill. And depending on how high your strength or athletics score is, right? If you roll a 10 and you have a 5 in athletics, you would in the end count that together to 15, which may or may not clear whatever you wanted to do, right? If you want to do something very hard, it's gonna be higher, the number to beat. If you want to do something relatively easy, the number would be lower. Okay, this is basically the system for this side of D&D. Okay, well, let's go over the different races. Do you like read any fantasy stories? Yeah? I'm pretty sure you're gonna be familiar with a couple of these then. We're not gonna go too much into detail, but here you go. This is a player's handbook. This is actually an extra copy I have lying around, so I'm gonna give that to you by the end of the day, and you can take your time and read through this. There's gonna be some helpful information in here, but also don't worry if you can't read it all. I would just ask you to read the things that are specific to your character that we're gonna design now, and that way you're gonna be prepared perfectly. And you know, if you always get more interested in stuff, you can always look up more stuff. Okay. So first of all, you could be a dwarf. These are dwarves. Pretty cool. It's kind of like Gimli. From Lord of the Rings, right? You have different kinds of dwarves too. So if you are interested in that, we can go over them and you can choose what kind of dwarf you want to be. You can of course be an elf, right? So also if you always wanted to be like Legolas, you can totally do that now. Pretty cool creatures. Also different kinds. So if that's something that speaks to you, we can look into that more in depth. Most of these gonna have like subclasses, so to say. So there's gonna be like moon elf, sun elf, stuff like that. Okay, we can be halfling. Yes, that would be sort of like, yes, that would be sort of like that. We just can't use that name because of copyright. Yes, okay. Yeah, you get the idea though. Yeah, perfect, okay. You can of course also be human, but you don't have to. Remember, right? This is a fantasy story, so you do not have to be human. Okay, so you can be anything you want. You can be dragonborn, for instance. So pretty cool. You can also, if you don't want to go full elf, you can also go half elf. So it's like human elf, sort of in the middle of that. Similar to that, you can also be in half orc. So if that's something that speaks to you, I can definitely recommend that. Okay. And then last but not least, you can also be a tiefling. They're pretty cool. Look at their horns. Pretty cool. I don't think I've ever played in a campaign where there wasn't at least one tiefling character. Yeah, it's pretty popular. All my friends really seem to like tieflings, yeah. Okay. Is there any one of those that already kind of speaks to you? Yeah, I can show you Half Elf again if you want to take a look. What they have is either, so I told you about the 6 scores, right? So their ability scores increase. Their charisma increases by 2 and 2 other increase by 1. So they usually have higher charisma if that's something that speaks to you. They have 30-foot walking speed, and they have dark vision, which means they can see in darkness. They speak Common, Elvish, and 1 extra language of your choice. Okay. Sounds something that you might be interested in? Yeah? Alright. Let's put down Half Elf on your character sheet. But also, don't worry. I will be using a pencil. Okay. So if any of these that we discussed today doesn't feel right anymore once you get home, you can always change that on your own, okay? And you can always text me if you need any help with anything, okay? Okay, awesome. So let's put down Half Elf as your race. And I'm also gonna note down next to charisma like a little +2 and then 2 little +1s on this side, so that we know we're gonna have to increase something later. Okay, cool. Well, I think the next thing that we're supposed to look at is your class that you want to play. Okay, sounds good? Alright, let's do it. Okay, alright, let me put this to the side. Okay, so, of course, with all like races and classes, there's more than is just in this book, but I don't want to like overwhelm you too much because this is your first character. So we are going to stay within this realm for now, and then for you, maybe your next character, you can always choose something extra special. Okay, there's enough choices already. Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's go through them. So first of all, we have the barbarian. You know, your standard battlefield tank, can usually take a lot of damage and also give a lot of damage in like melee combat. Definitely pretty cool class to start off with. You don't really have to remember any spells if that's not to your liking, and you know, they're pretty cool, pretty tough people usually. Okay. Next up we have bard. So if music and magic are words that just make sense to you, you can definitely play a bard. They're usually pretty charismatic characters. They cast spells and they give other players inspiration. Definitely really fun to try out if you really are into like role play and just really coming out of your shell. I can definitely recommend this, but don't worry if that's not your thing. We can always, you know, think of something else to do. I'm sure there's also shy bards, stuff like that. Okay. Yeah. If you want to play bard, I can already let you know, just to keep in mind, you do not have to seduce every monster we come across, okay? Just, you don't have to do that. It's not required, okay? Sometimes the answer to monsters are to destroy them and not to seduce them. You look a bit worried. Don't worry, it's gonna make sense to you once you play a little bit D&D. Just wanted to let you know right ahead, okay? You can be a cleric, so spell casting is something that seems fun to you, but you're not really into the whole performance thing. You can be a cleric who casts spells, a lot of healing powers, usually gets their power from a god, that they're like, or like a godlike being that they have a connection to, usually very positive, reaffirming. You can do different kinds of clerics. It's like war clerics, tempest clerics, trickery clerics, you know. It's a very diverse class, I would say. If spells are something that you want to do, but you're not really into the whole god thing, you can always play a druid. They draw their power from nature, and they can, for instance, shapeshift into different animals. Pretty cool. So if you're into that, I can recommend going with the druid. We also have your sort of standard fighter, but don't worry, fighter doesn't have to be boring. Can be really fun. You get lots of attacks. You usually do not have to remember any spells, although there are subclasses of fighters that do utilize spells. You can like do a tactical person who makes a decision in battle, helps out their friends, stuff like that. So that's also a really cool fun place to start with, I would say. If fighting is something that you're looking in, but you want to go more like the acrobatic route, so to say, a bit more spicy, you can be a monk. As a monk, you have something called key points, which you have to keep track of. You can spend these to do special abilities like an extra attack, or to stun your enemies in battle or attempt to stun them. Definitely really fun to play. Very like, yeah, acrobatic based usually. If cleric seems something that you would like, but you want to also be like a very like tank on the battlefield, I can recommend being a paladin. Definitely very fun. They don't have as many spells, but they usually have like auras that keep their party safe that is around them. So if you would like to go more the holy route, but would also like to be a bit more beefy and be more barbarian, like, I can recommend being a paladin. Then, oh, nobody actually placed that one. Okay, and You can also be a rogue, so if fighting is something, but you would rather do it out of the shadows, be a bit more secretive, a bit more hidden, you can be a rogue. They usually attack from a hiding place, do something called sneak attack at the first attack, do lots of damage, you know, out of the shadows. If you want to play rogue, you can totally do a tragic backstory, but you don't have to. It just, you know, it adds to the character. You don't have to though. No pressure. You can be a happy rogue. You can also be a sorcerer if you like the idea of magic but would rather draw it directly from you. You have like wild magic, you're born magical sort of. It's like raw magic sort of. It's a different kind of magic system. Really cool though. Okay. If you don't really want to deal with gods, but you want to draw your power, magical powers from somewhere, I can recommend looking into Warlock. They usually make a pact with some being. Doesn't have to be good, can also be evil, that they draw their powers from. Same idea though. Usually do not heal with their powers that much, you know. But yeah. And then last but not least, we have the wizard. So that's also someone you can look into if you like spells but want to go like the classic learned route of person. You can look into a wizard. They're not usually that strong. They have a pretty low constitution, so they usually fight from the sidelines. Sorcerer also not the strongest one, but yeah, okay. That's also a very fun class to play. They're all fun, honestly, except for the one that we skipped. Yeah, okay. Any of those that sound interesting to you? Cleric. Okay, yes, we can definitely. I totally see that. Okay, that's amazing. Let me go back to cleric. Awesome. Okay. So, what the book recommends and what I would recommend too is that once we fill out your stats, that wisdom should be your highest, followed by either strength or constitution. Okay. Yes. All right. Well, before we jump completely into that, the last thing that you're gonna have to pick your background. Okay, so we have different kinds of backgrounds. Let me just skip to... Okay, so background basically gives you a few more proficiencies. So if you know a skill pretty well due to your background, it gives you some languages that you know, stuff like that. So far, because you're half elf, you already know Elvish and Common and one language that you can choose. Don't worry, you don't have to choose now, you can go over them later. I will note it down on your page so you don't forget that you can choose another one later. Okay. So first of all, your first background is the acolyte. So there's someone who grew up in a temple, for instance. You know, maybe something that would really work with your class actually, because you're a cleric. Okay. You get like skill proficiency in insight and in religion. And you can choose 2 additional languages. And you know, that's definitely what you get there. Okay. You can be a charlatan. So if you're someone that likes to trick people, you know, take being able to be charismatic to a different level and, you know, trick people to something to gain something to your advantage, you can definitely choose that. You get proficiency in deception and sleight of hand, and get a disguise kit and a forgery kit. Okay. Then you can also have a criminal background. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. With that, you get a skill proficiency in deception and stealth. And you get one type of gaming set and thieves' tools. You can be an entertainer. You get a proficiency in acrobatics and performance. And you get a disguise kit and one type of musical instrument. Okay. You can be a guild artisan. So if you're part of a guild, you're skilled in a particular field, that could be something cool to look into. You get you get a proficiency in insight and into persuasion. So you're really good with people too. You get a 2 proficiency in one type of artisan tools, and you can choose one language. Next up is the hermit. So you would rather have a background of you being completely alone. That's also fine. You get proficiencies in medicine and religion. You get a herbalism kit or a proficiency in it, and you can choose one language. That's not completely up to you. You can also be a noble. So if you want to be of noble blood, you get proficiencies in history and persuasion. You get you have a proficiency in one type of gaming set, and you can choose one language. You can also be an outlander. So if you grew up far away from technology in the wild, then you would get proficiencies in athletics and survival, and in one type of musical instrument, and you can choose an additional language. A lot of them are very, repetitive sort of. A sage, so if you learned a lot of things, you get proficiencies in arcana and in history, and you get 2 languages of your choice. I think we're really towards the end here. Oh yeah, you can be a sailor. You get proficiencies in athletics and perception, and a 2 proficiency in navigator's tools and in water vehicles, so you can drive ships. It's also pretty cool. We will be having ships in the upcoming campaign, definitely. It's going to be part of that. You can also be a soldier as a background. You would get athletics and intimidation, skill proficiencies, and a 2 proficiency of a gaming set and land vehicles. And urchin, so you grew up on the streets, kind of Oliver Twist-ish. You get a proficiencies in sleight of hand and stealth, and a 2 proficiencies in the disguise kit and thieves' tools. That's it. Okay, any of those sound interesting to you? Sailor, yes! Oh my gosh, absolutely. That's gonna come in so clutch. Yeah, no, we definitely, so I'm planning on definitely having boats and sailing be a part of the upcoming campaign. It's gonna be really fun. Okay, awesome. So let me note down. Here, get your character sheet. Do you see those little round boxes here? I'm gonna color the ones in that you have proficiency in. Okay. So you get proficiency in athletics and perception. Okay. And I'm also gonna write down that you have navigator's tools proficiency and water vehicles. Okay, alright. Let's flip back to clerics, because cleric also gives you some proficiencies. Light armor and medium armor and shields. which is really important. We're going to establish your armor class in a bit. You get proficiency in simple weapons, and you can choose between the following skills. I think maybe what's more important is we do your stats now. Okay, so I think the stats is what is most tricky to most new players. Okay, so let me describe it to you. Okay, so I'm just gonna write down on a paper and show you in a bit. So I'm giving you guys 27 points to spend on your stats. Your lowest stat can be an 8, which costs 0 points, and your highest can be 15, which costs 9 points. And then all the stats in between. Your stats give you different pluses or minuses, so different modifiers. 15 and 14 is a +2. 8 is a -1. So 9 and 8 is a -1. And then in the middle you have 10, 11 with 0. You have 13, 12 with +1, basically. And if you make a check, you basically add or subtract. Okay. So here you go. You can spend 27 points. So you could have 3 15, because they cost 9, and 3 8s, or we can mix it up a little bit. So have 2 15s, 2 8s, 1 12, and 1 11, for instance. Kind of like a whole mix going on there. Yeah? Okay. So, because you're a cleric, I can recommend making your highest skill your wisdom, like the book also recommends, and then your second highest either your constitution or your strength. Okay, so let's give you wisdom 15. Which one would you rather have? So strength means your attacks that you make in melee are a bit higher, and your athletics check is, for instance, going to be higher, which you already have proficiency in, and which I'm going to explain to you in a second how that works. Or your constitution, which means you have a higher amount of hit points later on. Your hit points basically determine, so if you're hit by something, right, we're going to say a dagger does 1d4 damage, another one of those dice. If I roll that and it lands on like a 3, you take 3 damage. If you have 8 hit points, right, you now have 5 left. If they go to 0, you drop unconscious. So the higher your hit points are, the more damage you can take until you go down. Constitution then. Okay, let's put your other 15 in constitution, and then the 12, the next highest. Yeah, strength is probably a good call. Yes, make you a bit stronger. Okay, awesome. You're 11. You still have dexterity, intelligence, and charisma. So, okay, charisma. Yes, we can do 11 into charisma. You do get to add +2 later to it because you're in a half elf. So you would have a 13. Sounds good? Okay. Yeah, we can leave it like that. And then intelligence and dexterity would be the lower stats. Okay. So you still, like I said, charisma is gonna be bumped up to 13 because of the +2, because you're a half elf. Okay, and then you have 2 more skills that you can bump up by 1. So, for instance, if you bump up your wisdom from a 15 to a 16, you don't anymore have a +2 modifier, but a +3 modifier. And this is really good because you use your wisdom to cast spells. Okay, let's do it. You can later, I can also send you some links to some videos that you can watch and then make different decisions. Like I said, this is just pencil. Okay. What else would you like to increase? Your strength. Okay. It's not gonna change the modifier because it goes from a 12 to a 13. But next time you level up and get something called an ability score improvement, you can bump it up more. Okay, so a charisma is a +1 because it's 13. Intelligence is going to be a -1 because it's an 8. Constitution is going to be a +2 because of the 15. Dexterity is a -1 because of the 8. And strength is going to be a +1 because of the 13. Okay. These are your stats so far. Okay. All right. Now we come to your proficiency bonus. I already talked about how you have different proficiencies and some skills depending on your background and your class. Okay. So your proficiency bonus is something that is level based. So with first level, which we're starting out, your proficiency bonus is a +2. And you get to add this +2 to every skill you have proficiency in. Okay. So, okay. Just filling out your class level and your background because we hadn't noted that down yet. So, first of all, as a cleric, you have proficiency in wisdom and charisma saving throws. So that means if I ask you to make a saving throw, which for instance you might have to do if one of the other characters targets you with a spell, and you're gonna have to see if you can save from the effect of the spell, you might have to do a saving throw. And if you have proficiency in the saving throw, you also get to add the +2. Okay, and then if you have to make a check, for instance, if you want to see if you can lead a horse down a road, you're gonna have to make a animal handling check, and if you would have proficiency in that, you would also get to add the +2. Okay, so with your wisdom saving throws, because you already have a +3 modifier, right? You get to also add a +2 from your proficiency bonus. Your total number is gonna be 5. With your charisma, the total number is 3. And then with the rest of them, it's just the same as you already have in your base stats. You don't add anything to that or subtract anything. So intelligence saving throw is a -1. Constitution is a +2, dexterity is a -1, and strength is a +1. Okay. You can now choose 2 of the following skills to be proficient in. So you can choose from history, which is an intelligence-based skill. Insight is wisdom-based. Medicine is wisdom-based. Persuasion, charisma-based. Or religion, intelligence-based. Which one of those would you like to be proficient in? I can recommend probably not going with the intelligence-based skills because you have a -1 modifier on that one. Okay. Your highest stat is wisdom right now, so like medicine or let's say insight. Those are both wisdom-based. Insight is like looking into people. Persuasion is charisma. Yes, you have a +1 there currently. Persuasion and insight. Yeah. Okay, let's do that. So insight and persuasion. I will write down your numbers for the ones that you have proficiency in, just so you don't forget to add the bonus. So this is a 3. Perception would be a 5. Insight is a 5. And then athletics right? Because you got that from your background, as well as the perception also from your background. You also get to add this. So, okay. I can recommend filling out the rest of your skills at home. You can see behind the skills there's always noted down in brackets which this is based on. So Arcana is based on intelligence, animal handling is based on wisdom, acrobatics is based on dexterity. Just fill this out. You don't have to add anything to it. We already did the ones that you have proficiency in, so just copy them from the left. You can kind of learn how the skills work a little bit better. Okay, all right. So next we're gonna look at what you can have. So you're proficient in simple weapons, which means you can have a mace as your equipment, starting with a mace for your melee attacks. You can also decide between scale mail and leather armor. So scale mail is going to be a lot beefier, but also it's going to give you disadvantage on stealth, right? Because you're going to clink around. And then leather armor is going to be a lot less beefy. It's a bit more, also it kind of depends on your dexterity. So your dexterity currently is a -1. So if you don't mind the minus on your stealth, you can go with the scale mail. Makes you a lot harder to hit. The leather armor will make you a pretty easy target currently, because it would be a 11 plus your dexterity, which is a -1, so you go to a 10. Scale mail is 14 plus your dexterity, so that would be a 13. So you can decide between those two. You can of course maybe later find better armor in a different shop, for instance. Okay. You would still like to go with leather armor because you want to be stealthy. Okay, now that's totally your choice. No, absolutely. Right, that would give you an armor class of 10. You can also later change this, right? I'm gonna write down leather armor. If you want to look at the stats of the different armor, you can also look that up. You can find it in the index. Yeah, okay. You can have a light crossbow or any simple weapon. A light crossbow for now, because you don't want to look at all the weapons. Yeah, okay. And you can have a priest's pack or an explorer's pack. I would say look at them in depth at home and make the choice there. You also get a shield, which actually can help you with your armor class. The shield usually gives you a +2 if you have it equipped. And a holy symbol. You can also think about what you want that to be at home. Yeah, okay. Right. We're getting almost to the end. First of all, let's look at your hit points. Because you're a cleric, you get the D8 as your hit die. For instance, if you guys take a short rest somewhere, which would be around an hour of resting, you took some damage, you can roll a D8 and see how many hit points you get back. Or if you level up, you would also roll a D8 and add that number to your current hit points, always plus your constitution modifier. So currently it's 8 plus your constitution modifier, which is 2. So that would be 10 hit points for you now. And then with every level you get to roll again. But don't worry about it now. We definitely are always doing that together at the table. Okay. So your current hit point maximum is 10. Okay. I know this doesn't sound like that much, but yeah. Okay, your initiative is based on your dexterity. So initiative is who goes first in combat. So your initiative currently is -1. and use speed because your half elf is 30. Okay. I'm also gonna write down languages. You have Common, Elven, and then one more. You can choose that later. And I'm gonna write down, you also have dark vision, so you don't forget these features. Okay. This is just for parts of this. Okay. Good. One last thing I think we should go over, because this is a bit harder, would be looking at your spells. So, because you're a cleric, you get a handy table here in the book. And at first level, your features are spell casting and divine domain. Those are the things that you can choose. The divine domain, you can read up on that later. It's in cleric here. I said, you know, cleric is very versatile. You have different kinds of domains you can take. You know 3 cantrips. Cantrips are small spells that you can cast again and again. They do not expend any spell slots or anything. And you have 2 first level spell slots. Now, 2 first level spell slots does not mean you only know 2 spells. It only means that you can only cast 2 first level spells until you have finished a long rest, and then they refill. Okay, as a cleric, you actually can choose new spells every day, and the number of spells depends on your ability modifier for cleric. The important one is wisdom plus your level. So, looking here, your current ability modifier for wisdom is a +3 and you're level 1, so you can choose 4 spells. I'm going to go to your spell list here. So, I'm gonna write down 3 cantrips that you can choose, and 4 first level spells. You get 2 slots of those. It's kind of situational. You can later look at all the spells. I actually have a list here. There's cards of the different cleric spells. You can take that home with you later and look at all of them. Don't worry. You don't need to do that now. So, you can see here in the beginning you have the different cantrips. They have like level 0 on the back, and then you go into the different first level spells. They have the 1 on the back. You can choose 4 of them later. I'm actually gonna see here. We're gonna choose 2 right now so that I can show you something. Okay, I think these 2 are good. Let's put this to the side right now. Okay, so you have, aside from the number of how many spells you can learn potentially, there's 2 more important numbers. Okay, so I'm gonna write down your spellcasting ability is wisdom, so +3. Okay, you have a spell save DC and a spell attack bonus. So some spells, if you cast them, the creature that you cast them against has a chance to save. Okay? Just as I explained to you in the beginning, that you have proficiency in wisdom and charisma saving throws. How you save from a spell, for instance, that creature also has a choice to save. Saving throws is also kind of reactionary based. So if you slip and fall, you can make a dexterity saving throw to see if you can catch yourself in time. Okay. And this spell save to see is based on your proficiency bonus, the number 8, and your wisdom modifier. So you have 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your wisdom modifier, which for you currently is 8 plus 2, because that's your proficiency bonus, so 10, and your wisdom modifier is 3, so 13. If other creatures that you direct a spell against, they have to basically roll a 13 or higher to succeed against your spell. Okay. On the other hand, if you make a spell attack, so if a spell says you have to make an attack roll, you can roll a d20 and add a number, which you can calculate using your proficiency bonus and your wisdom modifier. So that again would be a 2 plus a 3. So in this case, your spell attack bonus is always a +5 until you level up or change, you know, if your proficiency bonus changes, which does with certain levels, it gets higher, or your wisdom modifier changes, maybe gets higher, that changes, so always keep an eye on that. Okay, we're gonna illustrate that real quick. Are you ready to roll some dice? Yeah, okay, let's go. Do you have dice? You don't have any yet. Don't worry at all, hold on. Okay, let me just grab my dice back. Okay, let's see. It's like I said, do you know the different dice? You kind of have an idea, okay? So your d20 is your most important one. Usually you roll that most. You have a d4. Some spells have them. Maybe a dagger does 1d4 damage. You have a d6, also usually used for like damage and stuff. You have a d8, which is actually your die, right? As a cleric, you roll that to see if you get hit points back during a short rest, or if you level up to see how many more hit points you get. A d10, like a little spinny top. A d12. And a d100, which is like the percentile dice, kind of like the d10, but it has 80 instead of 8 written on it, for instance. And you only roll that in very specific situations. Okay. Close this off again. Do you like the color blue? Yeah? Okay. Do they look good to you? You can take them home with you. These are your dice now, okay? Let's see, first dice set. Okay. Don't worry at all. I have so many. One less is not a big problem. Okay. Well, how about we say you're fighting a goblin, okay? And you want to cast a spell on them, okay? So you can choose if you want to inflict wounds, or if you want to cast command. You would try inflict wounds first. Okay. So I have a dice tray right here. I'm gonna hand that over to you. Okay. And you can, here you go. And now you can go ahead and roll the d20 for me. Ooh, what you get? 10. Okay, so with a 10, you then add your spell attack bonus, which is 5. So you have 15 overall. I would say that definitely beats the armor class of the goblin. Okay, with 3d10 for me to see what kind of damage you do. Okay, 7. Okay, 3. So we have 10. What else? 9. Wow, okay. So 19 points of damage. I would say that goblin is truly and utterly gone. There's still his friend though, which, hold on, let's see, tries to make a swing for you. Can I? Okay. With his little, like a little hand axe. Ooh, that's gonna be a 6. I'm gonna say his strength is +2. So that would be 8, which does not hit your current armor class, which is 10. So you totally went there unscathed. For your second, I can recommend casting the other spell, Command, at the little goblin friend, whose friend you completely and utterly destroyed right now. who tried to hit you but couldn't quite hit you, what would you like to command them to do? Just one word. Okay, yes, that's a good one. Okay. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna try and roll and see if I can save, okay? So, this is gonna be command. It says here, the creature has to make a wisdom saving throw. I'm gonna say little goblin is probably not very wise, so it's probably have a negative modifier. I'm gonna see here if I can succeed this. Oh no, I rolled a 6 and modifier is probably a -2, so 4 overall, which does not beat your spell save DC of 13. So the goblin does exactly what you want to do, which was, yeah, definitely. It's really good. So yeah, this is kind of how you would deal with that in combat. Does that make sense to you? Okay, perfect. You want to keep going? Yeah, no worries. I totally get that. Yes, I said the dice set. Okay. I'm gonna put that over here for you. You can take that home later. I'm also gonna give you the cards here with the 2 that we just used. Put them in the appropriate slot here. Okay, so you can take that home with you as well. So you can look at some spells later and see which ones you want to choose. Okay, perfect. I'm also gonna hand you your character sheet. So like I said, take a look at the skills. Also, we wrote down mace as one of your equipments. Make sure you check the book later to see what kind of attack bonus that would be. I think it would be your strength, and what kind of damage that does. Okay, it's very important. Different spells also do different kinds of damage. You can definitely read into that, but don't worry, you only have 2 spells you can cast per day, only 4 that you can choose from in the beginning, so it's gonna be quite low effort to get into, I would say. All right, make sure you fill in the rest of your skills here, and then also think of a character name, and maybe they're like personality traits and ideals. There's also some sections here in the book that can help you with some start of that. So if you're not really sure on your own what to think, you know, you can put that in there. You can fill out their age, height, weight, eyes, skin, and hair colors, so you can kind of customize the appearance of your character. Like I said, the backstory. We'd be really glad if you could send me that so that I can incorporate your character into the narrative. Like I said, yes, there will be boats, there will be sailing, so that your sailor is perfect. And you can use this to put in your spells that you choose for the day. Keep track of them here with your spell save DC and your attack bonus for your spells. Okay, let me hand that over to you. Okay, here you go. Alright, and then I'm also gonna, like I said, give you the book. You can find everything you need to know in the table of contents, right? Like I said, here's your cleric. You want to take a look at that. Maybe you want to look at the half elf again, the half elf page, maybe your background again. And then here's your like starting equipment. I will also send you like some additional messages of other things that you can have, the amount of gold that you start with, and so on and so forth. So we're gonna do this like one after another, not everything today. I think we did so much today already, and your mind must be overflowing with all the new ideas, so don't worry at all. I don't want to overwhelm you. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm gonna give that to you too. Here you go. Oh no, you can keep that. Yeah, no, like I said, it's an extra copy. Like I have so many laying around. You don't, absolutely, that's yours now. Yeah, well, thank you so much for meeting with me. I'm so excited to have a new player come to the group. I hope you're gonna have a wonderful time here, and I'm gonna text you to set up a date for session 0. We're gonna go over all of our characters. You're gonna be meeting the other players and their characters, and we're gonna talk about what you guys expect from the story and so on and so forth, and we're gonna set up a date by which we can all meet. Yeah. No, that should be no problem at all. Yeah, perfect. Okay, wonderful. Well, have a good trip home, and I will see you very soon.